Hi there, Algebra 2. Here we have an absolute value equation. It says graph the solutions to the absolute value of 16x minus 1/3 equals 2/3. Mark all answers on the number line. So when solving an absolute value equation, first you want to make sure that your absolute value sign is isolated all by itself. So if you look over here at the left side, you have 16x minus 1/3 inside the absolute value sign, nothing else on the left side, okay? So it's isolated, meaning there isn't anything multiplying the absolute value sign, or we're not adding or subtracting anything outside, okay? So it's already isolated, and now we're going to move on to our second step, writing two equations. So very important that you write them out. Don't try to solve them from within the absolute value bar. So we're going to write our two equations. The first one is going to look just like the original problem, except we're not going to have the absolute value sign. So we're just going to write out 16x minus 1/3 equals 2/3. Okay? The second equation, left side is going to be the same, 16x minus 1/3. But we're going to make the right side negative. All right. Now we're going to solve both equations. Going back to the first equation, you're going to add 1/3 first to both sides. Okay. Now you're going to be left with 16x equals 2/3 plus 1/3 is 1. And now we move on to our next step. We have to undo this coefficient here. So when your coefficient is a fraction, such as the case here, it's a 1/6, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal on both sides. So the reciprocal of 1/6 is 6/1. So let's multiply by 6/1, which is 6 on both sides. And what that does is, it's x by itself, because 6/1 times 1/6 is 1. 1x is the same as x. So we get x equals 6. Okay? Now, we're going to go ahead and solve the other equation using pretty much the same steps. We're going to add 1/3 to both sides. That cancels out. So we have 16x equals negative 1/3. Again, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of 1/6 to get x by itself. So we're going to multiply both sides by 6/1. X is now by itself. Negative 1/3 times 6/1 is negative 2. All right, now, last step. It's very important that you check both of your answers. So we're going to use the original problem to check. Okay, so we're going to use the absolute value of 16x minus 1/3 equals 2/3. This time, when we check our first, we're going to replace x with 6. So let's go ahead and do that. Use the check. So the absolute value of 1/6 times 6 minus 1/3 equals 2/3. Okay? So 1/6 times 6 is 1. So now you have the absolute value of 1 minus 1/3. equals 2/3. 1 minus 1/3 is 2/3, so you have the absolute value of 2/3 equals 2/3, and that is true. True statement. So, x equals 6 is one of our solutions. Remember, our instructions said mark all answers on the number line. So we're going to put a solid circle right at 6. We also want to make sure that -2 is a solution. So we're going to check. Again, we're going to use the original problem. So we're going to do the absolute value of 1/6 times -2 minus 1/3 equals 2/3. Okay? So 1/6 times -2 is -1/3. So now we have the absolute value of -1/3 minus 1/3 equals 2/3. -1/3 minus 1/3 is -2/3. So you have the absolute value of -2/3 equals 2/3. Absolute value of -2/3 is 2/3, so that checks as well. -2 is a solution, so put it on your number line. You're all done. Great job.